Big Polly's World of Sports Sims proudly presents another evening of Grand Slam Wrestling. And tonight we have a world title defense in the Tokyo circuit. It is Dory Funk Jr. and it is Antonio Inoki squaring off. Now, Dory Funk is usually a babyface in Inoki, but I do think they have had clashes for the NWA title, maybe late 60s, early 70s. And hello, everybody. I'm already getting ahead of myself. I'm Big Paulie coming to you. I forgot to take off the glasses before I started doing this video, but we're going to just have to deal with it. Dory Funk Jr. has been GSW champ now 10 weeks. Antonio Inoki, famous for being a legend in Japan, kind of along with Giant Baba. Giant Baba had All Japan Pro Wrestling, and Inoki had New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they kind of did their own thing, kind of like in America, how we had the NWA, the WWF at one point, which is now WWE, and the AWA. They were all the heroes of their own federations in Japan. Inoki, of course, is famous for fighting, Muhammad Ali in a boxer against wrestler match. Of course, Ali being the boxer. And they constricted Inoki what he could do in the match, but he still went 15 rounds with Ali in 1976. And here's a what if for you, because after 76 and after that fight with Ali, he fought Ken Norton, and a lot of people thought that Norton was very fortunate to get the win. Unfortunate not to get the win is what I was trying to say at Yankee Stadium in the fall of 76. And then he fought Ali fought a bunch of lesser knowns. Ernie Shavers caught Ali with some good punches, couldn't knock him down, and Ali went the distance and won the fight with him via decision. Then he ran into Leon Spinks, and then he ran into trouble. And then he fought Spinks again, won the title back a third time, and then he lost to Larry Holmes. One of the great what-if stories is, what if Ali never fights Inoki? What if they had gotten together and they had a dispute over who would go over in the finish? They came up with a finish where they would both look good, but at the last moment, they just decided to fight it out for real. And Ali wound up with blood clots in his left leg after the fight. And you have to wonder if he was not so hampered because he had blood clots and he had an infection in his left leg. If he was not so inflicted and he never has to fight with Antonio Inoki, what winds up happening to the rest of Ali's career? Maybe he lasts a few years longer. Or maybe things get worse for him. Of course, that big fight with Larry Holmes he had in 1980 was just... That was a sad fight to watch, and I think Howard Cosell, when he called it for ABC in the fall of 1980, captured the mood appropriately, and he would just continue to say, well, this is very, very sad to watch because Ali was once a great champion. But let's get back to GSW, and let's get back to the champs. We have some new champions, and we're going to go over that in just a moment. You might remember that on our last card that we had streamed, Jim Neidhart won the international title. And if you were wondering how long would Jim Neidhart last as the international champion, well, wonder no more, because Hiroyoshi Tenzan has already defeated him in Tokyo in an earlier bout on the card. And Tenzan is international champion for a second time. First he beat Dick Hutton earlier in the year for the title, and now he has beaten Neidhart, who goes back to Calgary. And we'll have stories to tell about his short-lived championship run as international champ. Other news, the Pacific Championship run of Koji Kamemoto is already over, as also earlier on the card, Jumbo Tsuruta defeated him. Jumbo was an AWA champ in the 80s in real life, and I believe he held one of the many junior heavyweight championships at about that time. Updating what has been happening with the Monarch of the MAC tournament, we will next week be covering that with two more events in Minneapolis and St. Louis. As you know, Hulk Hogan won the Tampa circuit. He will be a 1 seed, so he will get one of the high seedings, the way things look now. I've decided that with the ties and 2 seeds, I'm just going to do a random draw, and whoever draws first gets the higher spots and so forth. And Freddie Blassie won the Detroit tournament and is the 5th seed, well, actually, this will be in order. The number one seeds will get the higher seeds in the final 18, and then the lower seeds will get the lower spots. So on we go. Our match is almost set up. Funk is the champion. He is the heel. Antonio Inoki is the challenger. He will be a babyface. Antonio Inoki once held the Asian title in GSW, but it is now called the Pacific title since we have given them continental title rights. So let's go over our card in Tokyo with 7 matches, 4 matches for titles, and the Funk Inoki bout will be the 7th bout. So not a lot of room on the undercard for non-title matches. We begin with a couple of guys who headed straight to Tokyo after their Monarch of the Mat qualifiers. Each of these guys didn't win, but it was Nikita Koloff going over Larry Zbyszko by DQ in 16 minutes and change. Koloff suffered some rib injuries after Zbyszko went berserk. I guess he kind of had a jet lag rage, if that's a thing. And he attacked Koloff. Koloff is going to be out of action 15 weeks, so we'll see him again somewhere around week 32. Actually, he was out 104 days. We'll just bump that up to 15 weeks, which is 105. In the second event, Black Japan over Jado and Gato, and they won by pin. Chono blasted Jado with a Shining Wizard, which is one of these kicks to the head that's usually pretty stiff. And the Black Japan team, who are babyfaces in Japan, they win and they move up the ladder. Lou Thez, there is talk that the unrestricted free agency rule is going to change after this week, and there will just be one free agent with the most belt points. And if there is a tie, the tie holders will each be unrestricted free agents. That's being talked about, looking like Commissioner Soley will implement that. And that would also leave the Road Warriors as the sole UFA in tag teams. But there was Thez over Guerrero. Thez would probably wind up going to the St. Louis circuit. He wins by DQ, when Zbyszko, as if he hadn't done enough damage, placed a foot of Ultimo Guerrero on the ropes, and Ultimo Guerrero didn't like it, so Guerrero and Zbyszko may have a little bout the next time GSW comes to Tokyo in 4 weeks of game time. Then we had the 4 title matches. The first one was Mitsuharu Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada going over Brody and Handsome, when Jado, of course, got hit by that Shining Wizard by Masa Chono. It was Gedo helping, making it a 3-on-2 situation when he attacked Kawada, and we hear from the Pacific champs that they'll want a piece of Jado and Gedo in a few weeks when we return to Tokyo. Koji Kanemoto and Jumbo Tsuruta, and we just already told you, Tsuruta is the new champ, 24-10, a Jumbo flying knee. We also told you Hiroyoshi Tenzan went over Jim Neidhart. Tenzan is now a international champion again, winning in 12:34 with a jumping pile driver. So, on we go. We'll show you the trade hold recommendations. They both have ropes move that the game is suggesting we convert. Usually we do not do that because I don't think it advantages anybody one way or the other. So we will, actually I showed you everything I needed to show you in terms of who won what on the undercard. And let's get to the action. Both these, Inoki's got great stamina. He's got 81-4, and Dory Funk Jr., even with his champion set card, has a 69-4. So this is one of these matches I think could easily go 60. Let's see what the computer analysis is thinking. Antonio Inoki is going in at a slight disadvantage, but he could still pull this one out. Funk Jr. should retain the title in this championship match. All right. And you see it there, it's 1 fall, 60 minutes. Inoki has to get a pin or submission in 60 minutes or avoid getting any other result. And if Inoki is able to do that, he is the world champ. So we'll tighten up on the game screen a little bit, and we're going to get this one started. Action happening outside the ring already. Now let me just double check, because this happened in my last stream that I didn't set the computer. I had the computer running for both, And oh, Funk Jr. going postal already on Inoki, slamming him into the ring post, face into the ring post, and that's 15 points. But it looks like Inoki is undamaged. No action. A suplex attempt by Funk, countered by Inoki. Driving body slam. No, Inoki nearly got the early pin. That would have shocked the world. Legal whip to the ropes by Inoki. Inoki using arm holds outside the ring. No action. A ropes move. Body press. No pin. Now remember that Dory Funk Jr. has a very low pin rating, at least at this point in the game, 961. So Inoki's going to have to get a lot of work in to have any legitimate shot of scoring a pin. Legal leg hold by Inoki and a legal whip to the ropes by Inoki. So Funk already down to 21-4. Submission move. You're not going to get him this early on that. Kick by Inoki. So Inoki dominating the early action. He's only given up 15 points on that one move, and Funk Jr. at 58. No action. Back over to Funk. Countered by Inoki. Inoki going for inside cradle. Not going to get him that early. Suplex attempt by Inoki, and that's 10 more points off of Funk Jr. Inoki off to a flying start. 5:44 into the bout. A disqualified check, and again, Inoki stays out of trouble. So everything going his way right now. Legal leg hold countered by Funk Jr. So Funk Jr. goes for a choke, and Inoki counters that. We should note that on his champions card, Dory Funk Jr. is 7-0-2. That does not include some early matches he had in year 4. Inoki has gotten off to a slow start. He lost to Danny Hodge, lost by countout to Ultimo Guerrero, but avenged that with a pinfall win in their most recent meeting. Legal elbow by Inoki. Disqualified check, and again, Inoki out of danger. Legal knee countered. Funk can't get anything going. It goes back to... No, it does not go back to Inoki. Claw-like hold by Funk? No. You want to get a good claw hold, you call guys with the last name of Von Erich. And now a choke. That's not going to work. So Funk Jr. already getting a bit frustrated. A legal chop. Yeah! And that's 5 points off of Inoki's total. Punches by Inoki. No action. Auto control loss. Legal arm hold by Inoki. Inoki has already forced Funk Jr. to lose his stamina level. Inoki is still on his first level. Cross arm breaker, but the champ was ready. Illegal punches. Illegal punches here by Funk. No. Headlock. Illegal eye gouge. Legal arm hold. Face rake. So he's got Funk Jr. putting some moves together. No action. Legal arm hold. Just basic moves here. Action happening outside the ring. And Inoki suplex Funk Jr. outside the ring. And he's going to land on that hard floor. And that's going to be 20 points. And perhaps a future chiropractic adjustment for the champ. Suplex attempt countered. We go back to Funk, who throws a legal forearm. 7 points. Suplex attempt and a trunk pull, but you're not going to get Inoki that early. Inoki has just lost his stamina level, so it's on even footing right now. We're almost just past the 15-minute mark. A spinning toe hold, but again, you're not going to get Inoki on a submission move that early. Legal knee by Funk Jr. Body slam countered. Back to Inoki. Inoki with a legal arm hold. 5 points off. And Dory Funk Jr. closing in on a loss of his second stamina level. Legal leg hold. Legal forearm. Inoki's got to keep the pressure on, though, because this 60 minutes will likely go fast with both of these guys having pretty exceptional stamina. A biting by Inoki. Oh, my goodness. And that's 4 points damage. Looks like Dory's nose is free of blood. We will go on. Enziguri, that kick, that spinning kick that hits on the back of the head, and that does not get the pin done. 5 attempts already for Inoki and 3 for the champion. Push to the chest by Inoki onto Funk. Legal forearm countered. Inoki, cross arm breaker, and you're not going to get the champ, at least this early in the match. Funk Jr. has now lost 2 stamina levels, it would appear, and Inoki still on his second. So Inoki now on his Funk on his just his 3rd stamina level. He missed a backslide, which nearly got him. He got to the 3 count and a 19. He needed a 1 on the D40, so maybe I shouldn't say it was a near pin. It wasn't. Legal throw. Got to 2, but it couldn't get to 3 that easy. Legal throw by Inoki, no action. Whip to the ropes by Funk. High knee to the face, no pin. Well, there was a count, but it didn't get to 3. Legal leg hold. And we had some action. Ankle twist, and then referee steps in to break up a slugfest, and in the process gets shoved to the mat by both wrestlers. Referee calls for a double DQ. The sounding of the bell stops nothing as these 2 wrestlers continue their slugfest until other wrestlers are able to drag them from the ring. So, Dory Funk Jr. is going to escape with his championship, 22:53 to time. He was down on damage, 172 to 116, a disappointing outcome, as Inoki seemed to have Dory figured out from the get-go, Dory Jr. And now Dory Funk Jr. will head to the Eastern Combine, and his next match will either be in New York, Montreal, Charlotte, Atlanta, or Tampa. And we won't know when for a few more days yet, but Inoki stays in Japan, and he'll stay a top contender for the world title. And a lot of people getting close to Dory Funk Jr. as possible contenders. And of course, Dory Funk Jr. also has to qualify for the Monarch of the Mat, so he might have to put up his title 4 times in one night, although a few of those matches will be with shortened time limit. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's start of Week 17. We had Dory Funk Jr. and Antonio Inoki go to a double countout. Not a double countout, a double DQ. Same thing, basically. This has been Big Paulie coming to you, wishing you well. Hope you all have a good weekend. Godspeed and God bless. We'll do it all again soon. Bye-bye for now, everybody.